Please. Thank you very much. I'm glad we have a bit more time because I'm going to ask the Commissioner to be creative in his next answer. But you've gleaned from my first question, will you raise the issue of new policies, new immigration policies? And I'd like to hear your thoughts about the new policy. Do you think, for example, there needs to be special status for New Brunswick, Quebec and Ontario when it comes to the demographic weight? How do you address that issue as part and parcel of that new policy? Now, were we to set up a quota system, and under those policies, would we target source countries to meet our immigration needs? I'd like you to elaborate on this. You've touched on it already, but I'd like you to flesh that out a bit more, please, and focus on the specifics of the upcoming policy. Well, that's an excellent point you've just raised. When it comes to the provincial targets, for example, immigration is a shared area of jurisdiction. So the provinces play an extremely important role in determining, for example, the number of immigrants that are taken in. Now, when it comes to Francophone immigration and the 4.4% goal, this applies to the entire country. And if it was 12%, it would apply to the entire country. But clearly things are different in New Brunswick to Manitoba or the Yukon. And so, indeed, we're going to have to negotiate agreements between the provinces and the federal government. For example, in New Brunswick, 33% of immigrants need to be Francophones. Last year it was 19%. If we maintain the status quo, we'll be going backwards.
I think in Ontario it was already 5%. Was it attained? I don't know. In Manitoba it was 7%. There's an important place for negotiation between the provinces and the federal government. And we must make sure that the provinces ask for the right number of immigration Francophone immigrants. Quebec maybe has more autonomy when it comes to immigration. The target is usually 400, 500. And after that, negotiations are done between the two pillars of government. When it comes to Quebec, during the last election campaign, we heard immigration a lot. They talked about the various immigration targets, very low, very high. I was reading an article today saying that in a number of years, Quebec will represent 19% of the Canadian population. So decisions must be taken in Quebec by Quebec for Quebec. And we must also take decisions in each province and territory depending on the demographic needs of the Francophone communities. If in Ontario there's 2%, then that's a significant drop. If in New Brunswick it's 19%, even 19% is a drop. In Manitoba, if they say 2-3%, that's a drop. So we need to understand the role of provinces. Provinces are the ones that negotiate with the federal government. Maybe the first thing is to recognize the differences in targets depending on communities. May I, Chair? Should the government slow down Anglophone immigration to allow for Francophone immigration to catch up? A survey was released last week saying that about 75% of Canadians support the levels of immigration proposed by the federal government. Well, left to know who ordered that survey. But it's important to recognize the fact that the significant support for immigration in Canada, so long as it meets the demographic, economic, and humanitarian needs, Canadian is known as a country that has received a significant number of refugees. The demographic needs as they currently stand is mostly due to the aging population, the issue of the labor shortage, and all this is not in favor of reducing immigration. And this is where I have a problem. We come up with these new targets without truly delving into Francophone immigration. All we say is that we're going to maintain the target at 4.4%. So we'll continue business as usual. We'll continue enhancing a few issues. The only way that we will be in a position to attain the 4.4%, irrespective of the figure, is if there is a separate policy. And right now, what I'm hearing from the government, and they said it clearly a few weeks ago, these are our targets for 2022, 2023. And we're moving forward. As far as I know, there's been no change. Thank you.